If you're looking to buy your first home in 2024, you are on the right video. My name is Noel Figueroa. I am a real estate agent located here in South Florida. Areas that I cover are Miami-Dade, Broward County, as well as West Palm Beach. In today's video, I'm going to try to give you guys as much information as I can and explain everything little by little. That way you kind of get a full understanding of what you need to set yourself up now or in the future when that time comes for you. Without further ado, let's get started. Now, before we begin, a lot of first-time homebuyers make the common mistake of wanting to go see properties, such as going through Zillow and then reaching out to a family member or friend, or just searching up any real estate agent and just want to go out in the floodgates and look at homes. And at the end of the day, it's not a bad idea, but the problem is they go for homes that they feel that they qualify just based on what they make an hour or a year, and sometimes it doesn't really work like that. A perfect example what I mean by this is when I was considering on buying a home about 2 years ago. I decided to do the process on my own. Long story short, with the credit and money I had at that time, I only qualified for $175,000. And let's be real, what are you going to get for $175,000 here in South Florida? Pretty much a shed if you look at it. But when my wife joined along after a year, when our money was up, our credit was better, we were both able to qualify for $550,000. You see the difference when you do it with one person and you bring in somebody else in the picture, whether it's a significant other or someone that's just being a co-signer to get a bigger property. Like they say, two heads are better one. So before you make that common mistake, do your research, figure out if it's the best fit for you based on your criteria of type of home you want, and then go from there. You move on to the very first step, what you should do. Number one, the first thing I recommend everyone doing before looking at any type of property is speak to a mortgage lender. Now, yes, you have credit unions, you have banks, you have private equity people that give hard money, cash, however you want to go by. There's so many ways. But for most people that's buying their first time home, they usually go through a lender or a bank or a credit union. Now, my personal advice is work with a lender. Reason being is just you, the realtor, and that lender. They're the ones that's going to be answering that phone call for you. If you work with somebody, let's say Chase Bank or Space Coast as a perfect example, you might speak to 20 different people just to get one answer. Now, personally, I have never had that experience yet, but I have heard and seen it happened in person with other realtors that experienced that and also their buyers. So take it with a grain of salt, see what fits best for you. But at the end of the day, real estate agents have a better relationship with lenders, so that's the best way to start your adventure. Let's begin with number one, qualify for a mortgage. That's the first step before you go look at any homes or decide on what type of property you want. You need to know how much you're qualified for and what is your interest rate, as well as what type of loan you're going to get. That matters a lot because, for example, FHA, which a lot of people make the common mistake of calling it a first time home buyer loan, some places like in South Florida don't allow FHA, whether it's a 55 and older community or condo or a certain type of villa. So you have to be smart when it comes to what type of property you're looking at. You need to know the type of loan you qualify for. Just because that's in your price range does not mean you automatically qualify for it. Now, some of the documents you are going to need though is recent pay stubs, typically 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the type of lender that's requiring those type of documents. Your last W-2, the last 2 years, whether you're a W-2 employee or a 1099 self-employee, followed by any personal or corporate tax return, which is predominantly more for self-employees. Next, copies of your ID, as well as if you're taking money from your retirement account, whether you have a 401k or IRA, how much are you taking out and how much are you using towards as a down payment? Or if you're using all that money for down payment and closing costs, you need to let the lender know upfront on how much and how soon you could take that money out. And then as well as you need a copy of your student loans. A lot of people have student loans. You need to let them know what type of student loans you have and how much you pay per month when it comes to your student loans, and followed by a gift. If you are getting a gift from someone, let's say if your parents are giving you $10,000 to buy a home, you need to know how much are you getting and when are you getting it. That way they could calculate that into your numbers when that time comes. Now, besides just these type of documents, you are going to have to do an application with the lender or representative, whether it's a bank or credit union. They have applications, and it's just pretty much basic information, guys, which could be done in a day. Typically, it just requires like your social security. That way they could pull your bank statements, excuse me, not bank statement, your credit history, if you file for eviction, your late payments, etc. So you want to make sure you get all those documents in order right away and do that application right away. That way you know where you fall and what you qualify for. So that's the first step you need to do, is speaking to a mortgage lender, bank representative, or credit union representative. And then second part is doing the search with an agent. Now, real quick, before I move into step number 2, just be mindful. There are 3 type of loans if you're not aware. There's FHA, which people confuse a lot as first-time home buyer. It's not for first-time home buyer. It's just the most commonly type of loan that first-time buyers qualify for. This is the loan that you could get as little as 3 to 3.5% down with a low credit score and little to no money. Then the second type of loan is conventional. Conventional, this is for people that have somewhat more money than someone that is buying a home for the first time as an FHA buyer, as well as a decent credit score. Typically for FHA loans, some companies, I'm gonna say, are able to qualify you a loan with 500 credit score, but you would need more money to put down compared to where most places require 580 credit score to get qualified, as well as you could put little to 3 to 3.5% down. Now with a conventional loan, you need about 680 credit score and up in order to qualify. Before, you need at least 20% down with a conventional, but recently, last year, it been implemented that you could get now conventional loan with 3 to 5% down payment. And then finally, we have VA loans, which is more catered towards our veterans. They could put as little as no money down to buy a home. Now, there is money need to put down for escrow, but in reality, you do not need to put any money down. It's always 50-50, I'm going to say, because most real estate agents don't educate themselves on how VA loans work, and a lot of agents don't really specialize in them, so they just hear no money and just think, oh, it's no money, my buyer doesn't have to put money down. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, depending on the type of property you buy. Now, step number 2, you get your mortgage. You know where you qualify, what's your interest rate, what's your max dollar amount, what's your least dollar amount you want to spend. Now, you look for a real estate agent. Now, everybody knows a real estate agent. At the end of the day, you have either your best friend, your brother, sister, you could Google, YouTube, Instagram, however you want to go by. Look for a real estate agent and then do a buyer consultation. There, you want to bring your pre-approval letter with you and explain to them who is that person you went to register to get approval for a loan. And then from there, you want to find out what's the process take. And I'm kind of going to do a little buyer consultation with you guys right now. That way you can kind of get an idea how it works. Obviously, it varies from state to state. Things are a little different, but for the most part, it's somewhat similar when you look at it. So you meet with a real estate agent, you do a buyer's consultation. Here, you want to bring your A game. You want to let them know exactly what you qualify for as far as the type of home you want. Like, what's the home you want, and does that match your budget as far as how much you're willing to spend per month, as well as how much your loan allows you to push, or where's that bottom dollar for you. Now, typically here in the consultation, the agent is going to explain to you their home buying process, if they have a buyer's agent agreement, which I'll touch on that in a second, as well as what their method and process takes when it comes to looking for homes with them, if they have any fees, and they should have a criteria sheet for you if you don't know what type of home you want, or you kind of have an idea, but you better off seeing it in person as far as writing everything down, and that way they could prove to you what homes go for in the real world as far as what you want versus what you can afford via your pre-approval letter. Now, I want to touch on real quick the buyer's agent agreement. Some states it varies. It is forcible in some states, I'm going to say. I don't know what states off the head. This is something you will have to look on your own. Now, for me here in South Florida, it's really not forcible. And pretty much, ladies and gentlemen, it's really not something you're like buying to like a contract. It's a contract really between you and your real estate agent. And the reason why you need to focus more on this document, because a lot of things are happening in the real estate market when it comes to real estate agent commissions and how business is being conducted. As the years progress, real estate is becoming more challenging for most real estate agents. And pretty much, not to go into too much depth about this buyer agents agreement, because like I said, it varies from state to state. It's pretty much saving more on the real estate agent side. So perfect example, let's say I spend 6 months with you looking for a home and you seen every property, and one day you magically just happen to go on the contract on the property I've showed you 2 months ago. At the end of the day, that buyer agent agreement is pretty much making me the procuring cost of showing you that home, so therefore I get a commission. Now typically the seller agent takes their commission out once the deal's closed, and they give us partial of that money to us as a good faith payment. That's how it's been working, but due to recent allegations that's been going on, things have been changing. So that's where the buyer's agent agreement comes, because it's kind of like a safety net for us real estate agents, especially buyer agents that work with buyers predominantly. This is going to help them get paid, because let's be honest, nobody wants to work for free. Now, yeah, a lot of people may think, oh, you're a real estate agent, it's your job. It's not our job. Reality, when you look at it, our job is to lead gen. That's our job. What we do outside from lead gen is part of the work. So our work is to show property and write up offers, negotiate. But at the end of the day, real estate agent job is really lead generating. That's the work. But not to get too much into that, like I said, this is just a document to help protect the real estate agent. Some have fees, some have expiration date. Like, look, you're working with me for 3 months. I'm not going to spend time with you unless you're seriously using me. Like, these are like commitments, like I said. So be careful before signing anything with any real estate agent. Look into it as best as you can. Read it. I don't care what state you're in. If you see this video, if you need help, I would love to explain it to you. I never want to step over any other agent's toes, but there are some shady realtors out there. And I've always been a firm believer, if you look out for the world or people, you will get what you want to return in life. So just be mindful. Once again, it's just to protect the real estate agent as far as they're getting compensated, and also kind of protecting you as well, because we are representing you and we do not want you to fall into any legal situation or buy a home that has so much issues that you might not see or be aware of. All right. So step number 3, you got pre-approved, you know how much you qualify for, you spoke to an agent, you do your consultation. What's next? You start doing the fun part. You start searching for homes. Here's my piece of advice. Far too many people want to see 10 to 15 homes. I completely understand why it's a big decision for you, and at the end of the day, seeing 10 to 15 homes could be very daunting. It's like if you go somewhere and you ask for, hey, do you have a soda? And they say, yeah, what soda you want? Well, what do you have? They tell you 20 options. You cannot make up your mind on what soda you want. But here's the best advice I say. Find a home that fits your criteria. So if you have 20 homes to look at on your spreadsheet, find 3 to 5 homes, I would say, max. 3 to 5 homes that fit your criteria. Discard all the other properties and just look at those 3 to 5 homes and stick to what you feel comfortable. Now, I always say look at the price is number 1. Look at the location, not just the neighborhood. How convenient is that property for you? Is it going to take you too far out to drop the kids off to school, or is it a longer commute for you when it comes to work, for whether it's for you or your significant other? After that, when you narrow those 3 concepts down as far as price, location, and convenience, next you want to figure out which property pretty much matches your criteria sheet. So let's say if you want a 3-2 single family pool home with a den, if it doesn't have one, or if it does, that's a bonus. If you find out on your 3rd or 4th home, do not look at the 5th home. Put an offer in. I know it sounds cliche and we hear it all the time, but it's not a matter of fact that the real estate agent wants to make money. We see it from time to time. We'll show 3 to 5 homes, and these are like all the perfect home that hit your criteria, everything you're looking for, price, etc. And you do not pull the trigger and buy, and then you stall, and then you miss on the opportunity. And then goes back to my example when it comes to like picking what type of beverage that you want. When you go to a restaurant, for example, you have so many options and your mind is over the place because you're like, I like this one, I like that one. Then you come to make a decision. Sometimes you may not like or want it and you wish you could change that. So keep it simple, guys. Find something that matches your criteria. Do not go looking for homes just because you have 20 on a spreadsheet. Look at the homes that match your criteria. That way it makes your decision easy, and you take in the fact that, like I said, pricing, location, and convenience as far as travel time and everything else for you. Now you found the dream home you're looking for. What's the next step after that? You're under contract now. Great, congrats. Now the next thing, while you're under contract, you're sending out the escrow deposit to lock that in. And now you're searching for home insurance as well as you setting up your inspection. These times are crucial because depending on what you write in the contract, everything is time efficient. You want to make sure you're handling everything as quick as possible and being proactive to show the seller you're serious, that you're not wasting their time and you really want this home and you want to make the deal happen. So now you're doing your search for inspection, insurance, and you're getting your inspection set up. Now I'm going to touch on inspections predominantly real quick more than insurance because it's very, like I said, it varies from state to state. For people who live in South Florida, probably own a home or see headlines and news on how things are happening. So it's very challenging. But anyways, when it comes to insurance, here's my best advice I tell everybody. Focus on the major key components that affect the home, which is usually AC, roof, plumbing, water heater, things like that you want to focus on mainly. Far too many times I've experienced and seen myself that a buyer will do an inspection on one of my listings and nothing could be wrong, and they'll find like the smallest thing and want the biggest credit. Perfect example, I had a property listed for a friend, quick sell, $100,000. He wanted to do a condo. He bought it and he just didn't want to be there 6 months. We decided to sell it, right? There was nothing wrong. Everything was completely good because while we bought the property 6 months ago, there was nothing wrong. Nothing changed. The owner didn't even live in there. What ended up happening? The guy goes in there. He wants a $500 credit, or it was a $500 credit, right? For three little things: a hinge that was part of the stove that we bought on Amazon for $15, a GFI wall unit piece that we replaced from the dollar store that was $2, and it was some from the bathroom. It was a lever from the bathroom that needed to replace, which was $15. This gentleman wanted a $500 credit for something that costs, let's say, $40 to buy on Amazon, and I pay the building people to put it $30 out of pocket. So little things like that, I always say, do not stress. Those are little things that you could take care of yourself. Focus on the more major stuff. Now, do you get a credit, or do you have the seller fix that prior to locking up the deal? To each his own. My best advice, I would say, get the credit and have someone you personally know or a company you feel comfortable fixing any of these major concerns. Because why? You have direct contact with them, and if God forbid something happens, if they do a job wrong, you could be the one to reach out to them. If I am selling a home and I decide to take care of myself and repair it, I could get some Joe Smo could do it for a little bit of dollars. Let's say $1,000 deal could pay them $100 to do it, and then they go MIA. Now you're stuck with the problem yourself as the buyer. So my best recommendation: focus on major parts when it comes to inspection process, as well as you taking a credit during closing and then handling that situation after. Now, when it comes to insurance, most real estate agents has about 2 to 3 reps. I always recommend either way for insurance or inspection. Take your advice from your real estate agent, but also do your research as well. Find who you know does insurance and inspections, and then just shop around. See what some of the best rates you get when it comes to insurance, and when it comes to inspection, see what they can do to help you out. They can give you a credit, give you some extra leverage when it comes to the deal. So let's say you've done everything. Inspection is good, you find insurance, you're good, you're insurable. Now, what's the final 2 steps we're looking at this process? We're going to jump right into appraisal. What does an appraisal mean? We hear it all the time, but really the appraisal process is one of the key factors that can either make or break a deal, believe it or not. So real quick, I'll touch on appraisal. Let's say a property comes in, you're buying a property for $500,000. You put an offer at $450,000. Seller accepts, but the property actually appraises at $400,000. what is the next step to do? The deal's not done yet unless both party come to an agreement. There are multiple ways to handle this. So let's say the property appraises at $400,000 and the seller's not happy with that. So these are options you have. Either A, you as the buyer, you cover that $50,000 difference if you have the money. So now you're paying for a property that's worth 400 grand and now you're paying 450. You pay the $50,000 out of pocket. Option B, you both meet in the middle and go half and half, $25,000 each. Option C, the seller reduces the price, let's say to 420, and you pay that $20,000 difference. Or option D, the seller takes $400,000 and now essentially you kind of won in that process. You take $400,000 as the new purchase price, which is a W for you. Or option E, neither come into agreement. There's no common ground, and that's when the contract goes south. You get your deposit back, hopefully you get your deposit back in a timely manner. But yeah, you both couldn't come into agreement because the seller wanted XYZ dollar, you wanted to pay XYZ amount, and unfortunately things don't go according to plan. Now, but let's say the property comes, let's say, use the same number, 450,000, and the property appraised at 449 or 451. Pretty much you're in the clearance like 9 out of 10 times, at least me personally, when I'm the listing agent or represent the buyer, I never had an issue with a person like, well, we want X amount. It's never been that situation like, okay, appraise that value, big deals, nothing crazy, it's only $1,000, $2,000, let's lock this up. And pretty much that's how appraisal works. And then the appraisal process is done, inspection's done, insurance is done, appraisal's done. Now the final part for you as the buyer and also the seller kind of worry about is the loan commitment. Just because you're pre-approved for a loan doesn't mean you're guaranteed a loan. There are more process and steps that the lender and title company has to do their work in to make sure everything is kosher before finalizing, say, hey, look, the deal is good to go. While everything's in the background, you're doing the front work, the title company is doing all their search to make sure there's no liens on the property, the seller doesn't owe anything to the board, XYZ, and the lender's doing their final numbers to make sure you actually qualify for this loan. You didn't do anything crazy within the loan process during that time to make sure you were doing something behind their back while you were buying a home. For example, buying a brand new car, which most people do, or buying furniture before even moving or getting the property. So they do their due diligence as well. But if everything is good to go, you have no issues, you get the loan commitment and everything, you get approval, you could now close on that house prior to your initial closing date or after if you need to extend that time. And then that's it. It's set to the final drawing board, guys. You made it. You passed inspections. You got qualified for home insurance. The property appraised at value. You got the loan approval, and that is it. I know it sounds like a lot of information I've thrown at you today, and I appreciate you even sticking this long if you've been here to watch the video. But you know, it's really not a lot of work if you have a right agent, a right title company, a right lender, a right inspector to guide you. This process is actually smooth. The only hard part is finding the home and making that jump. After that, everything is easy from that part, believe it or not. Now, if you enjoyed this video, I'm actually going to leave below this video my first time home buyer guide for 2024. Pretty much outlines everything in here, and I'll give you guys a quick glimpse. I have it on Canva, I did it, but as you see, it's my first time buyer guide, so it goes table content, a little bit about me, and it gives everything from the pre-qual, the mortgage information, type of loans, your down payment cheat sheet, how much you put down, etc., and home buyer search tips. Like, I go into so much detail. This is free. You just got to log in, put your email, and then once you put your email, it throws you into my Google Drive, and then you just download it and save it from there. It is that simple. Like I said, it's free. I'm not looking for anything. I don't want anything returned. I'm not going to spam blast you, send you nonsense emails that you don't really care or isn't relevant. You could use this no matter what state you at, and hopefully that package is useful. Hopefully you enjoyed this video as well. If there's anything I could do for you regarding real estate, reach out to me. Also in the comment section below is all my social media handle. I'm very active on Instagram, Facebook, 50/50, all these other platforms. It's whatever to me. I try to do best, but Instagram and Facebook is where I generate most of my business. So at the end of the day, reach out to me, text, call, email, all my information is below. Social media, download the link, is free. And I hope you guys enjoy this video, and Happy New Year's. Let's do some business.